It's time to get bent again. Gender bending is one of the most fabulous and fun pastimes of comic book tropes. While we of course love our comic book superheroes just as they are, it can be fun to imagine what they would be like should they have been born with a different gender. We've seen all sorts of gender bends, from male to female and female to male. We've met alternate versions of heroes with the reverse gender, seen new characters from another gender inherit the mantle of a former superhero, and we've seen cosplayers simply dream up their favorite characters in a different gender. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. Once again, it is time to get bent, gender bent, if you will. Today we'll be counting down even more gender bent versions of our favorite superheroes, as we count down the top 10 gender bended superheroes part 2. And be sure to stick around till the end of this list, where we'll be taking it to the comments for some bonus content in the form of responses. Before we start, be sure to smash that subscribe and ring our bell if you haven't already. You know I love it when you do. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10, Iron Spider. Remember when MJ got her chance at bending the gender of the Spider-Man role? Who could forget, with that stunning cover by Alex Ross featuring Mary Jane in the Iron Spider suit. That's right, this happened in issue 15 of the 2015 Amazing Spider-Man series. What's more, in this issue, Mary Jane reminds us that this hasn't been her first brush with Spider-Man like heroics, and that she even wore the old school Iron Man armor once. Pretty neat. When Iron Man and Spider-Man are both in a bind struggling to fight against the super armored villain Regent, it's time for MJ as Iron Spider to come in and help save the day. Maybe one of my favorite MJ moments. Number 9, Storm. On part 1 of this list, I talked about a gender bent version of Rogue, and this gender bent version of Storm has the same origins. Both are from the comic X-Men Millennial Visions 2000, which consists of a bunch of short, futuristic X-Men stories. One of these stories is called The Big Exchange and tells the story of how the X-Men team got their genders bent following a run-in with some Blanco Rays, which, due to the unpredictable factor of their mutant genes, did the unexpected and reversed their genders, as opposed to doing any lethal damage to them. They were never able to reverse their genders, and so the Storm and Rogue of Earth 1007 are now male instead of female. Number 8, Rescue. Well, Pepper Potts is not the female version of Tony, because that would be kind of weird considering she's also been a main love interest for him. She has become a hero in the comics in her own right, and when she dons her armor, which Tony designed for her as Rescue in the comics, you have to admit she basically looks like a female Tony Stark. Not only does she have that Iron Man look, but she is given Rescue after becoming the victim of a terrorist attack. And in order for Tony to save her life following that incident, Stark ended up being forced to put a powerful magnet in her chest, which bore a strong resemblance to the reactor he has, and making Pepper also part tech in a way, like Tony. Like Tony as well, that piece of technology that is tied to Pepper's survival has also seen many upgrades. Number 7, PSYLOCKE. This alternate version comes to us from Earth 59222. Here, PSYLOCKE appears as a male version of herself, something I'm sure the Earth 616 version of PSYLOCKE would be delighted by. Male PSYLOCKE appears in issue 462 of Uncanny X-Men. And later on, while in the White Hot Room, Betsy expresses joy at getting to see all her different alternates. She considers them to, I think, be interesting and fun, and I'm sure this male version would be no exception, assuming it's also one that she's aware of. It's not really in the lineup in that panel, but it's in the comics, so I'm assuming she's aware of it. Number 6, Captain Marvel. It's crazy to think that Carol Danvers kind of became a gender-bent version of the original Captain Marvel without really ever meaning to. Of course, Carol is her own character, but both her and Captain Marvel bear a striking resemblance to one another. Their outfits even sometimes mirror one another's. I mean, the whole reason she took up the mantle of Captain Marvel was to honor the fallen hero who she looked up to. Carol Danvers has, of course, made the role her very own, and is very different from the original Marvel. But still, in a way, she became more a gender-bent version of him when she adopted his mantle. And to be honest, even when she was Miss Marvel, she was kind of like his female counterpart in the comics, in terms of name and look, especially in her original costume. Number 5, Wondrous Man. Dane of Elysium is an alternate version of Wonder Woman from Earth 11. Of course, instead of being a woman, he is a man. He is an Amazon prince who actually ended up being banished from Woman's World after he ended up killing instead of just subduing Maxine Lord, this Earth's version of Maxwell Lord. Bad Wondrous Man. As a result, Dane ended up leading his Amazons in battle against the United States of America and the Justice League. Needless to say, they were none too pleased. They were like, you shouldn't kill people, and then we won't all have to punch each other. Number 4, Hellgirl. While this gender bend never happened in the comics, Hellboy is such a popular hero that many fans have decided to put their own spin on the character. Not only is there tons of amazing fan art to give us a glimpse into what a female version of Hellboy, who I suppose we'd call Hellgirl, might look like, but there is also tons of cosplay as well that has been inspired by the idea. I gotta say, I kinda like the idea of it, and I think it would be cool if we saw a story where we got a glimpse to an alternate reality gender bent version of the BPRD squad, or even just had a story where some magic maybe caused Hellboy's gender to be reversed for, just like the length of an adventure. I just think it'd be pretty neat. Number 3, Fionna and Cake. Not only do Fionna and Cake show up as a superhero duo in the animated series Adventure Time, but if you are a fan of the gender-bent versions of Finn and Jake, they also have their own little comic mini-series published by Boom Comics. Fionna and Cake originate from the Ice King's fan fiction reality, but despite everyone in the world of Adventure Time thinking it's mostly terrible, they are two pretty awesome female versions of Adventure Time's main hero buds. In fact, Adventure Time's Rule 63 alternate world as a whole is kind of one of the best that's out there. Am I the only one that thinks that? I think their alternate gender bent world is great. Number 2, Spider-Woman. Depending on which story you are reading, Jessica Drew is a clone of Peter Parker. Well, she has a few backstories. But the Jessica Drew of Earth 1610 is a clone of Peter Parker at least. As such, in that reality, she is literally the female version of Spider-Man. In the continuity of Earth 1610, Jessica was part of the Clone Saga story arc from that reality. I guess writers felt it might be cool to add her in this way and explore the idea of Jessica as a female version of Peter. Because, in the Clone Saga, we didn't really have that necessarily. I think we had Gwen Stacy though. I think Gwen Stacy comes back as part of that, but she's not like a female Peter. Jessica Drew even came into existence with Peter's memories in her head. That's super clone-esque. How do you clone someone and make sure that the memories they've had are in their head? How does that work, science-wise? Number 1, Iron Woman. On Earth 3490, there was no Civil War because in this reality, Tony Stark was born a woman and ended up falling in love and marrying her fellow Avenger, Steve Rogers, Captain America. This version of Iron Man is, of course, known as Iron Woman and is named Natasha instead of Tony Stark. One of the ultimate gender bends, really, as it allows these two characters to finally deal with would likely causes some of the tension between them even in the main continuity of Earth 616. Also, goes to show that there is apparently no problem that love can't solve. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. Which superhero would you most like to see a gender-bent alternate version of? Are there any gender-bent versions of characters that prefer the original? Are there any gender-bent versions of characters that you prefer to the original? What are some of your favorite alternate version cosplays that you've seen? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Gender-Bended Superheroes, part 1 of this list. Fern Himes comments, a female Winter Soldier Becky Barns would be awesome. That would be pretty awesome. There is actually lots of fan art for Bucky's female version. And there is also Ricky Barnes, who originally appeared in Heroes Reborn. You should actually check her out. She's basically a female version of Bucky. You might like her. Mitten Olivier writes, I am surprised that Spider-Gwen didn't make the list. Anyway, great list. Thank you. I'm sorry we didn't have Spider-Gwen on here or on that list for you, but I will say stay tuned because she's definitely getting a mention on another one of my lists that'll be coming up soon. I do love me some Spider-Gwen. She's just a super cool character, definitely high up on my list of favorite spider people / totems. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts and feels shouted out in a future list. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host, Amanda McKnight, reminding you, as always, to stay nerdy, YouTube.